Welcome to Flow Stars, candid conversations between Dr. Peter O'Toole and the big hitters of flow cytometry, brought to you by Beckman Coulter at Bitesize Bio.
Today on Flow Stars, I'm joined by Kylie Price, Head of Research Technology at the Malaghan Institute of Medical Research in New Zealand. And we discuss her instrumental role in developing philanthropic partnerships.
Often people, give money and you buy something and people go, well, great, thanks. Here's a photo of your machine sitting in the lab. But you want to keep them engaged, show them what it's doing.
How being a major core facility in New Zealand means she gets some really interesting samples.
Fish sperm, let's send it to the Malaghan, they'll be able to do it. So we get all sorts of random samples.
How she finds time to relax.
We did get a dive and 25 metres away from us were humpback whales and they were calling.
And why she doesn't mind making mistakes.
And so I don't mind making mistakes. And I think if you set the bar too high that you think you have to be perfect and you have to know everything, then you'll stop yourself.
All in this episode of Flow Stars. Hi, I'm Peter O'Toole from University of York. And on Flow Stars today, I'm joined by Kylie Price from the Malaghan Institute of Medical Research. Kylie, good evening.
Good evening. Nice to see you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for joining me today. Kylie, in flow cytometry, what got you interested in flow cytometry to start with?
I got a job at the Malaghan Institute about 18 years ago. And when I was having my interview, I was going for a research officer position in the multiple sclerosis group. And during the interview, it was a sort of bog standard interview. And then the guy that I ended up working for asked me, he's like, do you know how to use fax machines? And I was like, please, I know how to use fax machines. I worked at a petrol station before. I didn't tell him that. And so I was like, yeah, sure. And then he walked me past as we were, going for the walk around the institute. And he's like, oh, and by the way, here are the fax machines. And it was a Vantage at the time, a fax Vantage and a fax Sort. And I was like, that's not what I thought. But of course I didn't say anything and I got the job. And then I very quickly befriended the person who did know something about flow cytometry, who's one of my best friends still, Joanna Roberts. And and she taught me flow cytometry. So that was my interface with flow cytometry, my introduction to flow cytometry. And I guess I started to appreciate the power of the technology over time. I didn't love it to start with. I'm a molecular biologist and biochemist. And so I didn't really understand why we weren't looking inside the cells. It seemed to all be about the outside of the cells predominantly. And so, it took me a while to warm up to flow cytometry. And then I guess the big moment with me in flow came when my friend Joanna, 2 years after I'd been at the Malaghan, got a job at EPFL in Switzerland. And so she was leaving and I was looking for a new opportunity. And she was like, have you thought about doing my job? And I said, no, you look like you run a spaceship. To be honest, I'm not quite sure I could do that, the Vantage, And so I asked her to list all the pros and cons of what she thought the job, was and could be. And I could see a space for myself. I could see a way that I could build a career. And I mean, I'm passionate about science and I love technology. And so, I went for it. And I guess that's how I came to flow cytometry.
I love your terminology. It was like a spaceship. And actually, I don't think this is a Vantage, is it?
No, that's an Epix Ultra. That was when I was in Spain. They had one of those knocking about and they didn't really know how to run it. And so neither did I, but having had a background experience on a Vantage, I read the manual and got them to be able to sort neutrophils from zebrafish on it. So that was my big achievement in 1 month when I was in Murcia in Spain.
I say it's called an Epix. I'm never sure what was epic about it, but there you are. I was lucky. I was born into the MoFlow to start with, so I actually know fax caliber with the Sort was my first.
Was that the arm, the slapper?
Yeah, the one that. You must remember that, and when it started to get blocked, it go.
yeah.
And then nothing. It's like, oh no.
Yep.
So, actually, really similar story. I knew nothing about fax when the university got a new confocal and a new fax caliber at the time, and they needed someone to run it. And it was a postdoctoral position to operate it. So you could do research, which was brilliant.
Oh, right.
But yeah, I remember going back and doing a lot of reading really fast because I knew competition had experience of these and I didn't. So it's the naivety. But you also did confocal. So I think this looks like looking at the knobs in front, it looks like a SP1.
An SP something. So it's probably an overstatement to say I do confocal. That's me visiting a confocal core facility when I was working at the senior. So I did my sabbatical in Spain in 2012 in the flow cytometry suite with Lola Martinez. And while I was there, I wanted to visit the different core facilities. So I spent time with the core facility manager and had a look at confocal and what it could do, and decided when I left Spain that was something that Malaghan should have. So that was one of the things that I took home, not literally that confocal, but we got some funding and we've got our own confocal now. And I've got somebody who runs that, a brilliant microscopist, Alfonso Schmidt. So he's doing really well. So I think microscopy and flow cytometry have to be together. I think they're just so powerful. But yeah, it would be completely remiss of me to pretend that I know how to run that thing.
And it looks like convallaria on the side of it. So that's interesting. So, because in some places, obviously, the flow cores are independent to the microscopy cores. You have some microscopy cores that merge with the flow. Yep. And when I say microscopy, I'm referring to light microscopy at this point. And then you have some light microscopy cores that are merged with electron microscopy. Which do you think are the best marriage?
Well, I don't have an electron microscope, so I can't really talk about that. So I think, light microscopy and flow cytometry make sense to me, but yeah, that's just what I've got. So I don't know the other ones that I think it depends what you're trying to look at, I suppose, and what resolution you need. But for what we need, the confocal microscope's doing fine. And maybe one day there'll be a push to want to look at like single cell transcriptomics or something like that and dig a bit deeper. But yeah, but honestly, microscopy is not, even though I've got this core facility, the Hugh Green Cytometry Centre, and we have kind of mini core facilities within them. I am not the expert in all of the all of the areas under the umbrella. So I've got the experts in place, but I guess that's the way that we've had to build it. We're a small institute. We've got like 80 scientists, 120 people, and we're down here at the bottom of the world, and you've got to try and work within the systems that you've got and the size that you've got. So we don't have enough to have big core facilities. We don't have enough people. So we've got me and a lot of my ideas, and then bringing in the technology and trying to match the needs of the scientists, really. What do they need and how can that help advance their science? So that's the technology approach I take, I guess.
You mentioned the single cell transcriptomics, single cell phenotyping with the really high plex now with the nanostring type technologies, the 10x, codex, chip cytometry. Yep. If you go on, all sorts of different technologies out there. They are not necessarily costly to purchase in some cases, but it does need a fair degree of optimization, so expertise support. How well connected is the country as a whole? So if one of your users wanted to get into single cell, can you outsource? Do you have those networks to enable you to go elsewhere, to take the academics work, go, oh, we can't do it,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how. UK is a pretty big country with lots of very strong research institutes. Even the UK can't say, well, we'll have it ourselves. Some things we have to say, yes, we can do this, but other bits we'll outsource and we collaborate over here.
Yeah.
What's it like down in New Zealand?
Well, we collaborate a lot, because it depends what it is and what the need is. I don't know that I can speak for the whole country, but I can speak for Wellington and the Malaghan Institute. But we've got the BD Rhapsody, for example, so we can do single cell RNA-seq, But for us, you know, if we're lucky, we might do 6 to 10 experiments a year at the moment, and they're data rich, and that's fine. That's what I expect for the size of our institute. We've got 6 research groups. If they all did 1 experiment a year, that'd be great. And it's not a high cost experiment, but it means that we can generate the libraries. But to buy in all of the sequencing stuff would make absolutely no sense. Yeah. So you can send that to, once it's cDNA, we can send it to China, to Aussie, to wherever to get it sequenced, to Dunedin. There is a place. So I think you've got to look at what the user base and the user need is. So it's not about getting every single technology, but just the ones, particularly you've got models or tissue samples that don't travel, you know, where you're not going to be able to fix them and send them in any way. So with some of the animal models, then you want to have that technology in-house, but they're all decisions that you would make as well, you know.
So you've got a Rhapsody.
Yep.
How many cytometers do you have?
We've got 6 cytometers. We've got 4 Auroras. We've got an LSR2, a Fortessa. They're both SORPs. So that's on the benchtop analyzer. And then we've got an Influx. And we've just purchased the Aurora CS, the cell sorter. So that's winging its way to New Zealand. I know.
That's a lot. Yeah, you just said you've got 6 research groups, you've got 80 groups, it was 120 people. That's a lot of cytometers for that number of people.
We have external clients, so we have a lot of people who realise that we've got the most advanced core facility in the country. So we have people from industry come and use our cytometers. I get some really cool samples. You know, we run the SCASA, the sperm chromatin structure assay. So we're the only place that can run that in New Zealand, you know, so we run that for the Fertility Associates and others. And then somehow, you know, you kind of get out there that, oh, this person runs sperm. So then I often get someone will be like, oh, I've got some harpooker fish sperm. Let's send it to the Malaghan, they'll be able to do it. So we get all sorts of random samples. And, you know, we get, what if some of the fun ones are like bacteria from Antarctic sea ice, wanting to see, going back through time through the ice columns and looking at the activity and matching the metabolic activity to the CO2 in the ice and that, you know, microalgae and phytoplankton and all sorts of stuff. So it's not just us.
So we did a fair bit of sperm research with Bulls, primarily with one of the local companies, actually not so local, but one of the companies in the UK. I just love the fact that some people go, oh, I really want a daughter or I really want a son. Can you help? It's like, nah.
No, not that kind of help. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you wonder if that ever happens anywhere in the world though?
No comment.
Yeah, no, probably best not to. God, so when you took over this role,
yes,
I don't think the facility was anywhere near as big as it is today. So have you just surfed that wave really well and brought all the users with you and got us sucked in because it's a good service? How has it been so successful? Because that is a huge number of analyzers.
Yeah, so the success, I guess, in the number of cytometers also has to do with my relationship with philanthropy. And I guess I've got a pretty good track record of working with, so the Malaghan's a publicly funded charity, which means that we often have people through tour groups through and we can tell them what we're doing, and you can form relationships with foundations or families or trusts or things like that. And I've been really fortunate. I've in 2009 I met an incredible family and the Hugh Green family, the Hugh Green Foundation, and they are amazing. Like they're such beautiful people, humble people, who, you know, Hugh Green made a phenomenal amount of money in his lifetime in engineering. Yep. That's why you've got to move, not me.
So which one's Hugh Green in this picture?
Hugh is, I can't point, I guess he's the elderly gentleman there. And next to him in red is his wife Moira and their son John. And that's the director in the sharp leather jacket. That's the director of the Malaghan. And so that was the first donation that we got from them. We got, $100,000 back in 2010. So we had $100,000 every year for 3 years, and we built our relationship slowly over time. And I mean, they, their passion is medical research and health equity and education equity, and helping people out of poverty. And when I met them, they came through and with a big entourage of their family, and they were looking to donate. And we heard that there's a family coming through. They might donate anywhere between, I don't know, it was like $5,000 to $500,000. And so, staff at the Malaghan were asked to put together proposals. So I put together a proposal. And I mean, the cool thing about cytometry or technology is we've got the stuff that can wow people, So I was like, oh, I'll pop the lid, look at these lasers, and get everyone excited. And then it turns out, they did the, how did you get into this? And we've got a connection, a farming connection, we're kind of farm people. And salt of the earth types, I guess. And so, we both work with horses and cattle and stuff like that. And so they really liked the technology. And the good thing is I asked to go last, because then after they'd seen all of the amazing research that we do at the Malaghan, which is really cool stuff, all helping, people were trying to find cures for diseases that affect the immune system, and cancer and allergy and asthma and all of these cool things. So trying to find those cures, when they got to me, it was like, well, if you liked anything that you saw, I support it all, and so that worked out well. And so if you can't decide, just support cytometry, and it supports everything. So we started our relationship, and they have they've purchased most of the technology. And then I've negotiated some pretty good deals as well, I have to say, along the way. So I'm getting pretty good at negotiating.
And a good advertising board for the companies that go in there as well. So, because company can give you something, but unless it's good, you're not going to use it, and you're not going to publicize it.
Of course.
So it's a very strong endorsement to have it there. So I think it's amazing, and I think it's really good to hear how you've been agile in finding funding. And I will plug Core Facilities at this point, because you're right. All those people were bidding against each other. Suddenly you've got people fighting internally against each other, even though these are colleagues.
Yeah.
And you won, but they all won as well, because they all could enable it. So actually that investment has helped many, many different groups, which wouldn't have been possible otherwise. And I wonder how many people watching or listening have thought about really,
it was
aggressively going after it isn't the right sort of word, but people do want to donate, they do want to make a difference, they do want to support research and science. And wow, what a way to hedge your bets. This isn't.
No, I mean, I joke, but it, genuinely it's true. Like, because we can, and then with the extra funding and our time, we can help people with applications. So if somebody wants to look at human skin and they don't have the time to develop the assay, then my staff can do that. And I can do that. We can help. And so then you get to see the power of the technology at its, I think what I'm really interested in is maximizing the capability so that there's no stone left unturned. Like, what can it do? What else can it do? So really pushing it, but then feeding that back. If you have got a philanthropic relationship, I think, I've kind of been asked to give these types of talks about, developing stakeholder relationships and maintaining them, but feeding that information back to them and showing them what a difference they're making. Often people, give money and you buy something, people go, well, great, thanks. Here's a photo of your machine sitting in the lab. But you want to keep them engaged, show them what it's doing, and find the way in a science communicatory kind of way, find the way to explain to lay people what it means, because some of the findings, they're not all groundbreaking, but they're important. Someone finds a new receptor or a new cell type, and we don't know what that means, but let them share in the excitement, that brings that, like, well, what could it be? And here are the cool ways that we're going to try and address that. And I think that's the passion that you can bring, and the experience that you can bring to your supporters.
I guess that reflects blue sky research as well, because you never know where it will help ultimately. Maybe the best thing is the mRNA vaccines. So the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, they weren't developing this for COVID. They developed the concepts, and then how quickly they rolled it out successfully. It's quite mind-blowing. It was never about COVID though, and that research has suddenly benefited the whole world in a big way. The whole world. That could never be perceived.
30 years of research. Yeah, I mean, like that, they did a lot of work, and the incremental. What I like about the mRNA story is it's a weaving of strands coming together, because there are the the base modifications, the little pieces, the widgets and the changes that they made to the RNA that made it more stable. And then there's the ionizable lipids for the lipid nanoparticles. And then there's the technology, there's the microfluidic devices, and all of that merging together at the perfect moment in a perfect storm where people needed a fast solution, because mRNA, it had been around, or siRNA had been around. The Onpatro was patented, or not patented, the FDA approved it in like 2018. So it was the first RNA kind of product on the market. But you've got this, it was starting to happen, and you just needed something like this to really catalyze it. And that's what I agree. You don't know what the technology could be useful for, but if it's there and it's being used and being explored, then that's when fun stuff happens.
So you mentioned you're from a farming background, and you sent me some pictures, and who'd have thought I was a beekeeper? But no.
Yeah, I know, amazing. Yes.
This is you in a bee suit. I know that's not the right term for it.
Yeah, yep, that's right. We had bees. We had them for like 5 years, and they died of varroa mite, which is really sad. This colony collapse is a real thing. And in the end, then I was pregnant as well. So then we decided to just let the bees go for a bit. We'll get them back. My son's 3 at the moment, so I kind of want to wait for him to be able to just stand still. I don't mind him being around the bees, but it's that if he's going to run away while we're trying to lift the hives and stuff, I'd rather that I can trust him to not run on the road or something. So as soon as he's trustworthy enough to listen and stay still, then we'll get our bees back. But having bees is incredible. I think from an ecological point of view, they're really important. I'm a bit of a greenie, and I think it's really important that people do everything they can to help bees. And I mean, we got like 45 kgs of honey in our first year. It was absurd.
Wow. How many hives?
We had two hives, and then
two.
Beg your pardon?
40 kilos out of 2.
Yeah, 45. But stacked. We had 6 supers, they called them, or we had 5 supers, and then the brood box at the bottom. It was a bumper year.
I bet it. Well, that's why you don't need to have them at the moment. You're still eating off that.
Yeah, no. Fine way to get rid of my honey, and all my friends benefit from when we had bees. That's for sure.
And so this other picture, I presume, also from the farm is.
Yeah, that's me riding a horse in Canada. So my dad was originally from Canada, and I went and had a white Christmas with my aunties and uncles on my way back from Europe after my sabbatical. And so I did grow up on a horse farm, but I'd never ridden a horse in snow. That's new to me. That's not New Zealand.
Okay.
Not that we don't snow, but.
And you mentioned your conservation work, and I think this is one of your conservation pictures.
Yeah, that's right. That's my husband and I, Federico. And this was where we were trapping. So we trapped like rats and stoats in the Remotaka Forest Park, and they've got kiwis they've released, our flightless bird, as opposed to the people. They've released kiwis into the park, but kiwis are really endangered, and there are a bunch of predators that eat them or their eggs. And so what we do is you go into the park, and then off the track, and then every so often you replace the eggs. There are traps every so many meters, and then you put an egg into the trap and get rid of the kill if there was any, if you were lucky enough to get a stoat or a possum sometimes, but possums weren't supposed to go in there, or rats. So yeah, I did that until I was 5 months pregnant, and then I handed over the reins to the director of the institute, him and his wife, Franca, who are also greenies, so they've got our route, and one day we want it back, Graham.
Which explains the egg carton. in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. So yeah.
Okay. So you have your farm. What else do you have on your farm besides bees?
Well, so there's the farm that I grew up in, and then I'm a city slicker now. So I mean, we've got chickens. We've had chickens in the past and bees, but you can have those in sort of, well, I mean, not complete city, not city like maybe, I don't know, my husband's from Buenos Aires, so not city like that, not concrete block. We've got a forest around us and, a fair amount of land, but I wouldn't call it a farm, having grown up on a real farm.
Okay.
But
and
enough
your husband from Buenos Aires, which explains.
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's
a football match? Soccer?
Actually, yeah, that was football. I think we went and watched. There was a football match. We were watching the RGs play the All Whites, which is just a terrible thing to watch from a Kiwi's perspective because we're terrible at football, and they're amazing. So, but yeah, no, that's a new flag that I support. It's an incredible country.
So I'd never been. So it does sound. South America is just very attractive. Southern South America sounds very attractive to go to. So did you see Lionel Messi as well then? Okay.
Actually, when I saw, I did see him. Not at that game. Where for our first wedding anniversary when we were in Spain, I got us tickets to the what's it called? The one in Barcelona, the El Campo or Camposino, something like that. I can't remember. That one. We went to the big one in Barcelona and we saw Messi there.
So the new camp. That one.
Yeah.
So back to work. What's been your who has been your inspiration or inspirations in the work environment?
I think I get inspired by aspects of people. I don't know if I've got a whole package, no offense to anybody. But I think one of the first people that I met in cytometry was Bill Telford. And Bill's incredible. He's an incredible cytometrist. He's an incredible teacher. He's so generous with his time and his knowledge. And I mean, I've definitely been inspired by him, and I love watching him tinker in the lab, with his lasers, and he's just such an amazing human being. And I've done a lot of travel with him. He got me into the live education task force with ISAC, which has been amazing. I stopped that to have my family, but I got to go to sort of 5 different places, and that was all through Bill. And I really love, I think that's a big part of, being in a core facility. It's what we do, we teach. And when you see people who are not only really good at teaching, but also just generous, generous with their knowledge. They're not keeping it to themselves, or they're not trying to put up that wall that they're the only ones who know, just really sharing. And so I really admire that. And yeah, I mean, I see lots of different people doing great things everywhere,
So you say it's not just about sharing, not keeping the knowledge to yourself. And one of the vital things in science is to actually publish what you do, because you can talk about it, but until you publish it, it doesn't get widely adopted, widely known, accepted. And your publication, for a core facility, your publication track record is exceptional.
Oh, thank you.
Because a lot of people who run courses don't get to publish that much. And you've done quite a lot of innovative stuff. I guess the Aurora's landed on your lap beautifully to really exploit and develop applications around it.
Yeah. That was part of, I had to sell the Auroras, I had to sell it to the senior leadership team. It was a risk, we're isolated. It was a risk on both parts. I think Cytec had to say, okay, are we going to send a cytometer to New Zealand? There's going to be one in New Zealand, who's going to support it? How many are going to go to Australia? And we were early adopters. So, I did a good job, I think, of convincing Ray and Lanigan and co that we would be able to look after them, that we're competent enough to service them. If they help us, we can do some of the stuff ourselves, which they were really good with. And so there's that two-way street. So there was an opportunity to try the technology, but it wasn't known at the time, wasn't known whether it would be as good as what it sounded. So there was the risk element, but a part of it was, if it is as good as what it sounds, then there's some low-hanging fruit, if you like there's a way to be like, look, you can do this with an aurora and you can do that with an aurora. But what I and our team, and Laura Ferrer Font, who's in my team, she's a postdoc and a senior scientist in the team, and what I really encourage her to do is to set the standards for all of our scientists, and then publish so that it's the standard for everyone, if you like. But what does it take to get top quality data? How do you use these things correctly to really make them sing, if you like? And so that's something that she's worked incredibly hard on, and SciTech have been really supportive. But when I think the other aspect is finding, if you're going to be bringing in a new piece of technology, finding the internal early adopters. So getting the postdocs or the somebody and selling it to them. So this is where I think science communication is really important. So saying to them, I said to one of the guys who's published using the auroras, said, you're about to leave, you're finishing your postdoc, you're going to go back to Europe. This could be a way that you've got an edge, as long as where you're going is going to get an aurora. But we can, can see if we can help make that happen somehow. But what if you've got this expertise that people want? And so why don't you invest your time and really see what you can do? And some of the people have got really complex samples, highly autofluorescent, that lend themselves well to this type of technology. So gut, for example, or lung or brain, or looking for really rare cell types, and where the quietness of the detectors in the red actually really helps the signal to noise ratio, and those kinds of things. So I think selling it and getting people to really adopt it and show everyone else what it can do is really important.
I think that applies to most technologies. Each new,
totally.
There's always going to be a niche for each system, unique selling points for each one that comes out, and it does have to be maximized. What's your favorite publication then that you've authored or co-authored? Not necessarily your most successful, but just what is your favorite one?
Gosh, my favorite publication. Well, gosh, I wrote one about, I can't remember the name of it now, but I wrote one about like laser light and the history of lasers. And I enjoyed that because it was a chance to do the reading I probably should have done, the in-depth reading. How sometimes papers like really make you focus.
Yeah.
And
no
I think that
intended.
See, I can tell a joke without knowing it. So basically I think it was really good, and I got to work with a PI at the Institute who I admire, and it was the kind of project that put us together, and I got to spend time with somebody who's just brilliant, Mike Berridge. And so those kinds of things, I like that about papers, the collaboration and the collaborative nature, where you get to talk to other people and learn from them. I think that's something I really like, is learning from people.
So from your favorite publication, have you ever had any darker periods, some real difficult times during your career that you found most challenging?
I think I think every career has its ups and downs. I think in my cytometry career, probably I had a hard moment doing my master's. I had a rough supervisor and a rough relationship, and so that was really difficult. That was difficult to come out of, and it was difficult to move on from. And those things happen. You just got to ante up and carry on. But I think, what happens, I guess, for me is I feel like I have visions of what we could do, great things that we can do. And then I can find funding to do them, and then I can sell them. And sometimes, the wind will change, and something that you might have invested in quite heavily, an idea that looked like it was all going to happen, gets moved away. But I'm a pretty positive person. And I think you just learn your lessons, you know. It's like, well, nothing's in vain. I think there's always something to be taken away and learnt from whatever you do. So I don't really feel like I have that many hardships.
So on a brighter note, then, this is your family. So your 2 children and your husband. So how old are they now?
Sienna is 5 and a half, and Santiago is 3 and 4 months. And they are amazing. They're like the best things ever. And my husband, Federico, he's 7 years younger than me, scandalous. And they're just amazing. They're the brightest lights, cutest little people I've ever met. Of course, every parent's going to say that and think that. But I live for them. I love it. I love being a mum. And I wasn't sure, you know, it's like one of those things. I was a geriatric mum, as they say. And which is, you know, over 35. And, you know, I'm happy. I did a lot of travel, and I was really ready to have them. But yeah, wasn't really sure, you know, what kind of mum I would be. And it turns out I think I'm pretty good. No.
Were you worried about your career when you started a family?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I'm kind of strategic, and so my involvement with societies and everything was all kind of planned around my family, because I was like, well, if I'm not going to work, I would take 9 months maternity leave, and you know, which is amazing in some countries and not that amazing in others, depends where you're from. But it felt right. It felt like a nice amount of time, and I really wanted to be there and give myself to that. But you know, I didn't want to lose complete momentum. So what I decided to do was get involved in societies. So, but I have to say, actually, at one point, Adrian Smith, who you may know, I was involved in hosting a conference here in Wellington, so an ACS conference, and it had gone really well. And at the end of the conference, he was like, hey, he was the president of the Australasian Cytometry Society, the ACS, and he was like, hey, you should really think about throwing your, you know, hat in the ring to be president. And I was like, no, don't know, I'm not sure I can even do that. Like, I'm not sure, you know. And he was like, oh, you should really give it a go. And I was like, well, actually, between you and me, I want to start a family, and that's not going to work. And he's like, doesn't matter, just do it. So I can't claim full, you know, ownership of that idea. But I was like, actually, he planted the seed. So I was like, well, I'll see. And then it turned out that worked. I got voted in as president. And so I was president while I was on maternity leave. Came back just in time for the conference. And, you know, I could do all of these things from home. I could advertise for the society. I organized all sorts of things. I had workshops right up until 2 weeks before I gave birth, you know, like international proliferation workshops and stuff. And so
proliferation just before we gave birth, but okay.
Yeah, I know, you know, just getting right into it, taking personal ownership of proliferating. So yeah, I think I merged it. But I also think, you know, New Zealand, we've got a culture that appreciates and understands work-life balance. I think I work hard. I think when I come to work, I work hard and I get everything done that I can, but I drop the axe when I go home on my work. I'm like, see you later, work. The only person, like if Graham, the director, rings and wants something, then I'll do it. And he knows that, and he doesn't abuse that, thankfully. But otherwise, it's when I'm at home, I'm with my family, and family means a lot to me. So I think you can do it. And you know, if you look at my CV, there's no gap from me having been away. There's president of the ACS, and there's something else for when I was away with my son. So you know, you can do it seamlessly. But now you'll know my secret. It's not seamless.
That your family means everything to you. Now this is a picture of your 2 children, really young, on a climbing wall.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It is, but then so they're just on a small bouldering wall at this moment in time.
Yeah,
and then this is you on a insanely high bitter rock climbing yourself.
Yeah.
And another picture of you just about to go into the abyss. Now, you say you love your family, and yet you're training them to jump off mountains or climb up them.
Training them to be strong, to hold on to the mountain and not let go. Do it. It's amazing. Why wouldn't you? No, I love climbing. I love I love outdoors and mountaineering and hiking and biking and whatever, yoga, diving, you name it. I'm a hugely outdoorsy person. And our kids have come along for the journey. So it's amazing what they can do. I'm well impressed with how far they can hike already. There might be a few, treats left on the path to get them there, but they can still do it. And I mean, climbing's, it's just such a joy. And that one, the one where you said the crazy, scary one, what's scary about that? That's called an arete. So when you're climbing on the corner, I don't know. Yeah, that one, when you're climbing on the corner.
Yeah.
And that feels more exposed. That feels scarier because actually from your perspective, when you're on the corner, then you just feel like it goes out to nowhere. So it's even more amazing. But yeah,
it can be grippier on a corner though.
What was that?
Can be grippier on a corner.
No, it's all about finding the place holds. It's all about looking, look, and try, and then maybe fail, but try again.
My youngest climbs rather well, and he's training my youngest to climb at the moment, so bits of it. But I guess if all goes wrong, you can just you say you like going across land and adventure, and you also scuba dive?
Yes, I love to scuba dive. That one's a weird one. That was a wreck dive in New Caledonia, and on the mast of the wreck, so this massive ship about 28 meters down, there was a bike hanging from the mast of the ship. So yeah, I mean, I thought it would be pretty funny to get on. The chain doesn't work, I found out.
Horse riding, climbing, beekeeping, trekking, cycling, raising a family, running a core facility, president of societies. You do a load with ISAC, which we'll touch on in a minute. So in New Zealand, you have more time, more hours in the day than you do up here?
No, I don't know how I do it. I have some good support. I have good wraparound support. Maybe I'm efficient and I delegate lots.
Do you ever have any just downtime where you just sort of stop?
I'm an active relaxer, so that was my downtime. Diving is the most relaxing thing. I mean, you're just like barely moving.
Yeah, but you have to get there. You have to set yourself up, close up, go down. You've got the wrap up at the end, the clean up. It's still a lot of work for that short period of time.
Oh, but it's so worth it. Do you know, I was just in Rarotonga a couple of weeks ago, lucky me, and we went for a dive. First time. I do like to dive in warmer waters because it's pretty cold diving in New Zealand. So I often wait until I get a moment. So we did get a dive, and 25 meters away from us were humpback whales, and they were calling. So I've never dove with whales before. I'll blame that on my son. I'm picking up all his endings at the moment. It's really funny. Yeah, so they were 25 meters away, and you could hear them as if they were right next to you. It was a mum and her calf. It was incredible.
Oh.
That was just, yeah, sorry.
No, that is quite something. So I said we touch on ISAC. You also do a load for ISAC itself.
Yes. Secretary.
Yeah.
Secretary of ISAC.
What you make the notes?
Well, yeah, that's right. What minutes? That's me, the minute taker. No, it's incredible. I did a long stint with the Australasian Cytometry Society, and I think I left it in better shape than what I found it. And so two other key people in my life besides Bill Telford are Paul Wallace and Kathy Muirhead. So they're my proliferation people. That's how I met them. Actually, Bill, mate, yeah, there they are. Look, aren't they cute? And so that's us, the dream team together.
Now I'm the dream team. I've just put myself
right. Yeah, that's right. You just replaced me.
Who needs Photoshop when you got Zoom?
So yeah, so what happened was, when I was working with Bill, he does a lot with apoptosis. And at some point he was very generous with his space, and he'd been asked to give a workshop at a cyto, and said, why don't you come along and do proliferation? Like, you be life and I'll be death, and we can do this talk. And so he held a little bit of space to me, and I was really junior, and I'd done a couple of, CFS proliferation assays with CFSE. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm not really an expert, but of course, if somebody says that you're going to teach on it, then you read a lot. So I read a lot, and I did those couple of sessions with him. And then when I was in Spain, he introduced me to Kathy and Paul and said, look, these guys are the proliferation gurus. Like, they've got this long history of proliferation and teaching, and they know everything. And they were talking about doing a module for Cyto U, and they were interested in the fact that I might be willing to help. So I got involved, and that was incredible, because the one thing that we don't have here in New Zealand, while we can collaborate, and it's easier nowadays, I can't walk across town or drive across town, or many other places where I can find, the type of cytometry experts and expertise that you have around. I came to see you in York, as you remember, once. And, you've got London, it's close, there's so much going on in Europe. There's so much there. And so for me, having people like that, like mentors who are willing to share their knowledge. And I mean, I feel like I work for it as well. I sing for my supper, and, put in the hours that I need. And so those two, obviously Paul Wallace went on to be president of ISAC. And he's a dear friend and colleague now. I've known him for, 12 years or something. And he and Kathy were like, you should think about getting involved with ISAC, And so I did. I started with the SRL Emerging Leader Task Force with Adrian and co. And I guess I got recognised. Actually, I think I got recognised a little bit by other people in ISAC when I co-hosted the Cyto Asia in Singapore. So that was a conference that was held between the Australasian Cytometry Society, ISAC, and the Singapore Immunology Network. And yeah, I don't know, made a bit of a name for myself as somebody who does stuff, gets stuff done. And then, put my hat in the ring to be secretary. And I got voted onto council first, actually. I was on council 2 years before someone said the role of secretary was coming up, and did you want to look at it? And of course, I think you really need, if you're going to, they're volunteer societies, but if you want to do justice, then you need to put in some time. So I did talk to the director and say, is this something you think I can do? Excuse me, time-wise, is there enough time for me to actually, are you willing to let me do this? And he said yes. And so, yeah, I do spend quite a bit of time, at least a day a week, being Secretary of ISAC.
So I think it's an important point, actually. So you've obviously with the ACS and ISAC, and it's helped promote your name onto the international arena. It's not easy to do that, and it doesn't come. It's not given to anyone. You don't just get there. You have to earn it, and you have to give in. You have to put in effort. Yeah. And so you put the effort in. Fortuitous maybe that Adrian said go for it. So he could see it in you to start with, so encouraged you to take that step. You took that step. You then took the ISAC step, which puts you straight bang onto the international scene. You're up there in front of 1,000 people at Cyto. But that's important to the Malaghan as well. It's important they have the profile, and your researchers have the profile, because it makes them surely easier for them to get their grant accepted, because they know if they ask for a really complicated experiment, a reviewer is going to go, yes, but it's at the Malaghan, they can do it.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's really lifted our profile, and our brand, if you like. And we just put in for some IRO funding and for independent research organisation funding with the Health Research Council. And I mean, we won't find out till next year, but I got approached, they went to the PIs got approached to say, let's get letters of support from your colleagues to say, if the Malaghan didn't exist, what would that do to our collaborators? And because we do have international collaborators, and because I am, known, I could reach out to a lot of amazing people. I mean, we have incredible people in our society, and ask them for letters of support, and they were really generous, and they gave them. And the director was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It was really, really thankful. And so I think it's a two-way street. I think, you invest the time, and you can do it. There are a number of reasons, it could be for personal reasons or professional reasons, or, for a challenge. Like personally, one of the reasons that I like this is because I like to grow and challenge. And I kind of have a philosophy. It's not mine, it's Brene Brown's, but it's I'm here to get it right and not be right. And so I don't mind making mistakes. And I think if you set the bar too high that you think you have to be perfect and you have to know everything, then you'll stop yourself. The bar will be so high that you won't be able to get the momentum to get over it. But I feel like I'm a good enabler of people, and I can pull groups together. And in all my school reports and all my life, it's always said, oh, she's a natural leader, whatever that means. But I think I listen, and I don't feel like it's a Spanish saying, the owner of the truth. I don't think I have the one way and I know the way. In fact, I'm pretty certain I don't know the way, but I can find the people who do. And I think networking and the international society is the perfect place to get that knowledge. And in my role, for the Secretary of ISAC, I'm the chair of the governance committee. And so, I assembled this committee with people that I thought could get the job done, who can help me. And it's about airing their opinions around what we're doing and finding the way forward, and then galvanizing everybody towards one goal. And I think a big part of what I do in general is just organize. I seem to be a good organizer. So I can organize thoughts, and I can organize people, and I can crack the whip and make sure stuff gets done. And I guess they're the skills that ISAC enjoys from me. Maybe we see the fruits of my labor. I think a lot of people think that it's only for a certain type of people or only for certain career stages, but I don't think so. I think if anyone wants to actually do the work, then come on in. There's a society, there's a spot in the society, and there's a place on so many committees that need people who are dedicated and willing to give it a go.
Yeah, I'll just echo that, whether it be ISAC, whether it be ACS, whether it be the Royal Microscopical Society, it is for people of all stages of careers. Part of societies is to enable people to develop their careers as well. And there's always a role. And so age, status doesn't make a big difference. It's capability that's really important. And I'd just say, if anyone's listening, they're thinking, oh, great, so you just take everyone's ideas and put them together. But no, you also have your own ideas. Look at your publications again. You have the vision as well. So you have to have both. But also the acknowledgement. So I think these are, I did look at your CV. Thank you for sending it through. How many prizes? So,
well, no, not that many prizes. That's over there. That's like the one prize. The rest have just been finalists, which I think finalists is great because it raises the profile, but you don't have the work. Right. You don't have to go and talk at all the events afterwards. So you get the profile raised.
I don't have all the pictures. This is obviously one.
Yeah, so this one is me at the Next Magazine Woman of the Year, and I think that was in the Science and Innovation category. Well, that was the category I was in, and all of those women were finalists.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, that was pretty amazing. And so there's that, and I've been I was finalist. There we go, for the high tech inspiring individual award, the IBM. That was this year, and that was a very swanky affair, and it was amazing to be nominated and amongst so many incredible people. And I think again, like raising our profile, because this is cytometry. This is putting cytometry among most of the people in the room. They're startup companies, they're all making mega bucks and with amazing gadgets, but this is a science tool. So I feel like whenever our name is up there with me, then you get to promote cytometry. and get people excited about technology and science and how it can lead to innovation.
How do you even get nominated for these? Who's doing the nominations? Is this the Malaghan thinking, look, we've got something great here? Are they putting you forward and promoting it? Which is, how does it happen?
Yeah, some of it's a mixed bag. I mean, we've got a comms department, so sometimes comms will be like, she must have done enough to get her name in one of these things, and then they write something, but it has to be good, because you have to get shortlisted, and then you get interviewed, and it's actually a rigmarole to just get to finalist. And other times, one time I got a nomination from a student actually at the Malaghan, who was just like, oh, she's been so helpful, and I don't know that a lot of the staff here know what I do. ISAC's not that well known at the Malaghan. I mean, obviously people know that I'm the secretary, but we've been to Cytos, we know what it means. And so I think probably a lot of people don't quite know all the other hats that I wear. They see me as the core facility manager, maybe.
So I don't think you won this prize.
No, I know, but do you know what?
This is your house, and this is the Rugby World.
This is the Web Outs Cup. Yeah, I don't know if they should be shown that. Yeah, so it turns out that I know somebody whose job it was to take that to places, to where it was supposed to be at, and maybe it just detoured via my house for a quick photo and then carried on to where it was supposed to go. But that is the Web Alice Cup, yes. That was just one random night, a knock at the door. I was making dinner and a friend was like, hey. I was like, hey, what do you got? What's in that box?
Oh, you won this. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I know. It was a really surreal moment. Those moments you're like, I can't even believe it. But yeah, that happened.
So how good was the replica that you switched it for?
Pretty good. They haven't noticed yet.
We're actually really close to the hour. I can't believe this. Some quick questions. Are you an early bird or night owl?
Bit of both.
Okay.
Hedge my bets.
Yeah, and actually, if you're doing all those different activities, they dovetail on the end of the day. PC or Mac?
Sorry, what was that?
PC or Mac?
Mac.
Okay. And what's your favourite food?
Asian fusion, Thai, spicy.
Gosh, I'm sure I had a picture of you cooking somewhere, and I can't find it quickly. Not to worry.
Oh, yeah, it's me and Lau.
What's your least favourite food?
I don't really like mushrooms. Can handle a little bit of mushrooms, but yeah, mushrooms, yeah, if they're just too mushroomy, no.
So you haven't got mushroom for fungi then?
Not mushroom, yeah.
Sorry. Chocolate or cheese?
Cheese.
Cheese?
Yeah, chocolate, cheese, yes.
So I guess this one's a no-brainer then. Beer or wine?
Ooh, wine.
Yeah, with cheese, you've got to be red or white.
Red.
Again, cheese kind of has to be. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Espresso or cappuccino?
Flat white, thanks.
Oh, go halfway between, why don't you? Actually, no, it's close to cappuccino in all fairness. What's your favourite movie? Do you get time to watch movies?
Oh yeah, sometimes.
On the flight to America.
Yeah, they were the best ones. I get really emotional on planes when I'm watching movies. It's like too much. I don't know what it is.
There'll be the couple of glasses of red you had and no interruptions.
Yeah, that's right. It's the free time. It's the air up there. I reckon Shawshank Redemption and Good Will Hunting.
Okay. Do you ever get to watch any trashy TV?
No, I don't really like trashy TV. Don't like TV. TV for TV's sake.
You don't watch TV at all?
I'll watch something on Netflix. I'll watch an episode, but no, not trashy. That just does my head in.
Okay. So, book or TV?
Book.
What are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading. I never have one because it depends on my mood. So I've got 3 books on my night table. One is When the Coffee Gets Cold, Till the Coffee Gets Cold. It's by a Japanese author. And that's kind of my like holiday, don't have to think much book. And then one about, I like philosophy. And so I'm reading about how to lead a good life. And it's about Stoicism and like the school of philosophy, the Stoics. And that's really interesting. And the other one is Not Without Peril. And that's like a story of all the misadventures of all these people that went hiking in the presidential ranges in New Hampshire over like the last ages, 150 years of disasters hiking. It's pretty cool.
I'm still, so you're reading 3 books. I can't believe you actually get time to read a book.
Well, no, they've been there for a long time. I might, it depends. I'm like, I'm in the mood for this one. And I read 1 page. We don't advance far anymore.
It's crazy. Our time is up, but you did send a couple of other pictures. You obviously got German connections.
Oh yeah, so I lived in Germany when I was 16. I did a student exchange, and I have this weird thing where I have these people, is that the Familie Kraft, that I love to bits and pieces. They're my mama, my papa, and my host brothers and sisters. So I've got a couple of families in Germany. So if I go to Oldenburg, I actually feel like I come from Germany. This is the Schatkes, my other favorite family, who I love to bits. And I honestly could go back there and live there as if I was German.
That's, quite amazing. And this is you when you got married. I thought these deserve, I thought, a quick mention at least.
Yeah, so I'm reading my vows in Spanish. I didn't memorize them, but I got them. I got Feather's brother to translate my vows that I wrote in English into Spanish, and I read them. And so Feather's blushing because he hadn't heard them.
Where did you get married then?
Well, we got married here in Wellington, low key, 0 cost, very good. And went to a registrar's office, did the signing, went to an Argentinian restaurant for dinner. And so we did the ceremony here, and then we flew to Argentina to spend time with his family, and we kind of had a mini ceremony over there as well.
So you say low cost. The photographer obviously cost a bit of money.
No, that was our mate, Will, our climbing mate, and he took all the photos. I mean, honestly, it was no cost. My friend made the flowers. My mum bought the dress for like $300. I asked everyone to buy their own dinner instead of buying us a present, just pay for your own dinner. My dad bought the wine, and our friend, we gave him a bottle of wine and he took our photos. Can you believe it? Love it.
No, when you said your friend, I thought it might have been Adrian Smith. I know he's quite an awesome photographer as well.
No, but remember when we were going to visit a friend in Leeds, when we came to see you, that was Will. He took those photos.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Small world.
Small world.
So Adrian he must have been in his prime when he met him then as well, when he was over.
Yeah.
Photography, yes.
Yeah.
Just incredible picture that you had there. But it does worry me that you did it all on the cheap and everyone was paying for their own dinner. Did they not pay you a salary at Malaghan?
Yeah, but I don't like waste. I don't like waste. I don't want fanfare, and I why buy stuff? I don't like too much stuff. Don't need stuff. I'd rather spend it on travel and climbing and friends and food.
Yeah, and I didn't get through all the travel pictures throughout it, but
that's fine.
I guess a lot of those are holidays, but some of those they're not perks of the job necessarily, because some a fair bit of traveling is essential, and it's not necessarily a perk, but you do get to see different places.
Oh, I know. I mean, that's another thing about being a scientist. When no one told me when I was thinking about science that you actually get to travel the world. Like, you might get paid rubbish, but you can travel the world, which is pretty amazing. So a lot of the times, whenever there's a cyto, like the one in Florida, is I looked around for what can I do that excites me, and I went to Costa Rica by myself and did some hiking in the forest there, which was incredible, and it cost me like $200 from Florida. Imagine flying from New Zealand, Florida to Costa Rica, not $200. So yeah, we're lucky. It's a good field.
I can say salaries can't be that bad. And I'll just point out, actually, certainly York and a lot in the UK, our positions are fairly well paid.
Yeah, that's right.
Respectful of the positions and very appropriate salaries, I think, and the opportunities are there to grow. So these roles can be really good. You know, they are.
I mean, I don't mean to, the thing, you know, if you've got my husband works in the government, and so, you know, like the government pays different to what scientists do. But I think, you know, I think core facility staff do well.
Yeah, and, you know, they're great careers.
It's been an amazing career. And one thing that the director said that I really liked is, you know, if everybody at the institute loses their job because of, you know, their funding, he's like, as long as there's one scientist still standing, then they'll need you. You know, like you have got more protection in a core facility, I think, from the whims of the funding world, the science funding world, than outside of it. So no, it's been an incredible career thus far, but I feel like I'm still young, got lots to do, lots of ideas.
And I think you've proven the case that to take those roles, you have to have the passion, and you have to have the drive, and you have to do the work to make it. Yeah. So Kylie, on that note, we are over the hour, so we need to wrap. So thank you so much for joining me today. Everyone who's watched or listened, please do subscribe or keep looking at the other Flow Stars. You mentioned Paul Wallace earlier, so he'll be up. So look out for Paul Wallace and many of the others that we know so well. Kylie, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter.